7th and 8th grade. How the heck you guys doing? It's Harry Pedigo. Welcome back to History Lessons Online. Man, what is going on with the radical change in direction that we saw happen in today's history reading? Ah, it's terrifying. I mean, really, I won't try to be, I'll try not to be so silly, but it really is a major transition. I mean, we were talking about America's developing foreign politics and foreign policies. We were talking about their intervention in, Cuba and Panama and the Roosevelt administration and Taft's dollar diplomacy. And next thing you know, you turn a couple pages and it's like World War One, choo choo. The train keeps on rolling. It's a big change. And so, first thing I wanted to say to you guys is, how do we kind of assimilate what we're reading today with what we were reading yesterday? Because it's a big change. And so I'll say this and hope that this helps you kind of get your sights on the future, where this is going. Ultimately, the outbreak of World War One is going to affect America's foreign policy in another way, right? Because we know that ultimately America gets involved in World War One, and it's a big development because that's really them adjusting their world, their foreign policies a bit, tweaking them, and we'll see the reasons why America gets involved in this conflict, a massive conflict. So when I was reading pages 720 and 721, as you guys were, I thought to myself, what would be, if I were a 7th and 8th grader, heck, if I were an adult, what would be the most troubling or perplexing part of reading this? Because it's a perplexing read, a lot goes on there. They're talking about the outbreak of World War One. How does it start? And obviously they say there's a lot of tensions in Europe during this time. Things are very tense because of militarization, right? A lot of European countries are building up their armies. And so things are tense. But they mention a couple very key places, and they don't have a map on pages 720 and 721. Why do they do this to us, gang? I love this textbook, but man, every time it's like I gotta have a map for this. Okay, I'll show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking in the reference section over here, and I want to turn your attention real quick to where this is happening. We got our favorite little area down here, Greece. Oh, our favorite Greek heroes, Achilles. Oh, Menelaus and Diomedes. That's where that's at. But let's just, I'm sorry, that was silly. I'm trying to be not so silly. You know, obviously, United Kingdom, France, Spain, Italy. But where are we here in World War One? What do we need to be paying attention to? I'm a very visual learner. I gotta have a visualization. Obviously, this map is not an accurate reflection of what Europe looked like in World War One, but this is a modern map, so to speak. But I'm going to show you just kind of where to think about this stuff. I want to turn your attention first and foremost to Germany. I want to also turn our attention to Austria-Hungary, which is a big part of what we're talking about today, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Serbia. Now, clearly things looked a little bit different back then. Borders were different, the size of various countries different, but that is the air. This is what we would call the theater. Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Serbia. So let's kind of apply that understanding. I hope that helps you guys. I'm a very visual learner. I gotta see things, like if you just start talking about Bosnia-Herzegovina, I'm like, speak English, please. I'm just kidding. But it helps me to look at a map to see at least where things are going on. So we talked a little bit about the tension in Europe during this time. What actually starts World War One? Well, the first and foremost thing that happens is the story of Archduke Francis Ferdinand. So we know from the reading, Archduke Francis Ferdinand was heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary. We looked at Austria and Hungary on the map. Austria and Hungary during this time were sort of joined, you can think of. So he's the heir to the throne, a very significant and powerful person. And what happens ultimately, do I say ultimately too much? I feel like I do. I need to stop that. He goes to visit a recently annexed country, okay? A recently annexed country, which is Bosnia-Herzegovina. So what does it mean? Annexed? That's a strange, maybe we're not familiar with it, and we need to be, because they talk about that being very important. when a country annexes another country, you can think of it as like they absorbed the country. So it would be like if the United States took control over Cuba during that Spanish Revolution and didn't maybe necessarily make it part of the United States of America, but they controlled it as like a province. Great Britain is an excellent example of that during this time. You have a lot of different territories that they control, right? And so what happens at annexing is just an absorbing of another country by a bigger one usually, or a more powerful one. So that's what annexing is. So we know that Austria-Hungary annexes Bosnia-Herzegovina, and people are not happy about that. It's also important to note that Austria-Hungary has an alliance with Germany. We all know what an alliance is. You think about in school, you probably have very close friends that you would help out. You would help each other out. That would be like an ally. So we know what an alliance is. Two nations that support one another in their actions around the world, right? I'm just going to check and make sure the battery is not messing up on this. I think it's okay. Okay. Yes, it's okay. So what happens is Austria-Hungary annexes Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Archduke Francis Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, goes down there to kind of visit. You can think about when a presidential candidate visits a state to try to gain votes and to kind of get them to like the candidate. But he's assassinated. That's a problem. They don't tell us that actually Archduke Francis Ferdinand, the way they tried to assassinate him was by throwing bombs at the car parade that he was on, and they're unsuccessful. They kill some of the other people with Archduke Francis Ferdinand, but he's not killed. He actually comes to visit the people who were harmed in the hospital, and it so happens that there's an individual who is involved in that assassination attempt and sees him park his car there, and he blasts him with a gun. Problematic, okay? So what these people, these Serbian nationalists, the people who organized this assassination, it all blows up from here. Austria-Hungary says, we're going to go to war with Serbia. Okay? And we're going to just take them out completely. And they're like, hey, Germany, our allies, you guys want to get in on this? We're going to war. And this would be a great opportunity for us to annex and gain power of more places, right? And ultimately what happens is they mobilize for war. And Serbia, naturally, has its own allies, which it's allied with Russia, and Russia is allied with France, and France is allied with Britain. So you can see it's like a domino effect. So it would be like if you, somebody picked on you at school, and you called all your friends, your allies, we're gonna help Caroline out. We're gonna help Caroline out. And then all of the people who messed at you or were rude to you or bullied you, they got all their friends together. So it's not just one-on-one combat. Obviously, the allies get very involved in this. And so suddenly you have something called the Central Powers, which is Austria-Hungary and Germany. And you have the Allied Powers, which are France, Russia, Britain, etc., who were part of the Allied forces. And they were all tied into this. Now they're all pitted against each other because of that assassination, and because Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, and then gets Germany tied into that. I hope that helps you guys think through this a little bit. Think about this. Big picture is allies, when you're allied with a nation, if they are brought into a conflict, you are to some degree brought into a conflict too. The reason they call this World War I is because there were so many different alliances, so many different nations pitted against one another because of what happened, what Austria-Hungary decided to do to Serbia. I hope that clears some things up. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about what did warfare look like back then, and it's going to be crazy. You guys have a blessed day, man. I love you guys very much. You're doing a tremendous job. Keep up the good work.